Continuing our November series in joy in Thanksgiving. Joy in Thanksgiving. And we're talking all about the sacred practice of gratitude in our life. And many of us started almost 40 days ago our Thanksgiving gratitude journals. We'll be wrapping those up on Thursday of this week, so we've had lots and lots of things. I would guess that, as I said last week, that it's not just the 400 things that you've had to fill in, but it's probably multiplied in your life, I would guess, as I know it has in mine. So today my talk is being grateful for change in the changeless. Being grateful for change in the changeless. And I was reading about some of the teaching of the Jain faith, if you're familiar with that faith tradition, and they had an interesting idea. And it says, things appearing and disappearing are the play of life upon itself. Both are two waves of the same ocean, and both the appearing and the disappearing are there to reveal reality in a new and fresh way. I think that's interesting. It goes right along with our science of mind, doesn't it? But in the same token, my little voice went, yeah, but change is uncomfortable. It's scary. I don't like it. I'm resistant to it, right? Isn't that our human nature? When things change, we kind of resist it. And technology, right? We talked about this before. Upgrades on those stinking telephones. And then it's like, where is everything? I've got to go through a whole different sequence of events. I have to slow down. It's not the same way. But it's an improvement, isn't it? It's an improvement. And we know in our teaching that when we want to have a different circumstance in our life than what we're currently experiencing, that it requires something changing, something becoming different. And we sometimes have to go through that from point A to point B, that place in the middle called change, until we get used to it. But spiritually, I think we all recognize that change is God in action. Change is God in action in our life. We know that everything is temporary. We know that everything changes. We know that it all just continues to evolve and it continues to grow. That's how we grow, is through that evolutionary process of change and expansion. But today I want to really see if there is a deeper way that we can look at that which is changeless in this ever-changing environment that we live in, and see if there's something that we can always count on. Is there something that we can always count on? Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind, tells us changeless refers to the one that cannot change, because being everything, being all, there's nothing for it to change into. If this is everything, it's only going to change into more of itself, right? So that's what he's telling us. He says the one cause back of all never changes, but it constantly creates forms. And so we perceive, in our humanness, we perceive a changing form within that which is changeless. Makes complete sense, right? It certainly did not to me when I first read that. It's like, what is he trying to tell us? What is he trying to tell us? Change, by its very definition, means different from before, right? So how could it be change in the changeless? And we prefer, as humans, that sort of stable ground. We don't always like when the ground's moving around us. We like it a little more stable. We like to know the process. We like to know the procedure. We like to know what to expect. When we go to new places and experience new events, it's a little uncomfortable sometimes because we're not quite sure what's going to happen. We're not quite sure what's next. So we're not always comfortable in that until we get used to it. Until we get used to it. Remember my story last week when I was sharing with you about the gratitude that I had for going to the art festival up in Cave Creek? and how I was visiting with my friend that had been through a similar experience to mine of downsizing and moving into a new home over the summer. Well, a great deal of our conversation last week was commiserating about what we missed about the old place. And how different it was being in the new place. It's smaller, things don't fit, the missing pieces and parts and boxes that we're still looking for, the different traffic route and patterns to work, the different neighborhood noises that we hear that we didn't maybe hear in the old neighborhood, all of those things. And then the funny thing that I've thought about this week is he was always complaining about his giant backyard that he had, 1.5 acres of yard to take care of, and how he really wanted to get rid of that. And now he's got this very small yard, and he was complaining about how small the yard is. And I had to laugh because, wow, we wanted change, we have it, and now we're not comfortable with it. So, but that's what we do as humans until we get used to this stuff, isn't it? Isn't it? Sure, we've all been there doing that. Do you remember the book, great title, Wherever You Go, There You Are? Yeah, isn't that a great title? It is, and it's really the very powerful reminder that we are that constant in our life. We are that common denominator. I had another example of this on Friday as I was putting away some laundry, and I opened up the armoire and I went to deposit it on the right-hand stack that's sitting there rather than opening the drawer and putting it away, and I had to laugh. Gee, I brought that bad habit with me from the old place, didn't I? Here I am in a new place, furniture in different locations, right? And I'm in a whole new address, but I brought the same habit, so here I am. I am the changelessness in that. I brought that habit with me. I didn't, finish the action. Finish the action. I didn't finish the action. So what habits are you continuing in your life? What habits are you continuing in your life that maybe don't support you? It could be something as simple as mine of stacking laundry as opposed to putting it away. You know, if you've got stairs in your house, that was always one of the big things, is stacking stuff on the stairs for that one trip upstairs each day, right? I think we've all done that if we've had stairs. That's a habit, isn't it? That's a habit of action. The same principle, the same idea applies in relationships, doesn't it? If you've ever left a relationship in less than a joyful manner, be that a romantic relationship, a friendship, maybe it's a business relationship or a job. If we've left those in less than joyfulness, don't we sometimes carry that with us? Particularly if we're blaming those people for the way they treated us or the way they behaved, or if we're resenting those people. Yeah. We sometimes find those people, maybe in different form, but we sometimes find those people in the next job, the next relationship, the next friendship. Right? Wherever we go, there we are. There we are. So the opportunity is to heal that, rather than to resist it and blame. So I want to talk about one other metaphor for this idea of change in the changeless. Let's talk about water. It's very important to us here in the desert, right? Water is a very important thing to we as humans in general. Water is wet. Would you agree? Yes. Well, the interesting thing about water is that we can chill it and make it cold and make it really, really cold, and then it becomes ice. But if we then take that ice and we melt it, it goes back to water. And then if we keep heating it, it turns into steam. One substance, 3 different forms. Right? We've all had that experience. When we think of things spiritually and try to get that realization that there's one substance in multiple forms, our brains kind of go, that's not logical. Because we look around us and we see so many individual types of form that it's very easy to think all of those forms are separate, isn't it? That's separate from me, that's separate from me, you're separate from me. It's easy to think that. And yet in our spiritual teaching, we teach that we're all one and that we all are connected. Just like the water is one substance, different forms. So it's a good analogy for helping us to see this and begin to get a glimmer, a glimpse at least, of that idea of changeless in the change. The water is still water, even though it's in a different form and solid and frozen, or it's a steam, it's a gas. And in my reading, it tells me, may have some dispute this, it tells me that water is the only substance on earth that has that ability to turn into 3 different forms. See, Will's going, no. So I don't know the science behind it. It's just what I'm reading. It's on the internet. It must be true. Anyway. So go with me here. If God is the water, imagine God is the water. When it is frozen, it turns into ice. Is it still water? Yes. If we heat it and melt it and it goes back into water, it's still God. And then it goes from water into steam, is it still God? Is it still water? Is it still ice? It's all that same thing of H2O, just in those different forms. So both science and Ernest Holmes, who was a wonderful scientist, tells us that yes, science says water is the only known substance that can exist in gas, liquid, and solid phases within the relatively narrow range of temperatures and pressures found on the Earth. That's what it said. Will's gonna look this up for me. And we're only rearranging the molecules is the idea. That we're only rearranging the molecules for the water to freeze or to turn into vapor. Holmes says ice is formed from water, and all ice is some form of water. Just so, God and man exist in an eternal state of unity. The solid and the liquid are one substance. The solid and the liquid are one substance. So when we think about our physical laws, think about gravity, we think about centrifugal force. Those are things that we sort of understand. We understand how those operate. We mostly understand the way the laws in our human environment work as well, the laws of the land, so to speak. And we understand how to behave or how to act within those. You don't jump off a building without a parachute. Gravity's not going to cooperate with you, right? If you want to spin a bucket of water around, you have to go at a certain speed or you're going to get wet, right? Yeah. And if you're driving, generally we know not to cross the yellow line and that oncoming traffic's not going to cross the yellow line coming into us, generally speaking. So those are kind of the laws that we all know how to act or behave within those to make them work for us, don't we? Yeah. And the same is true with our spiritual laws. Law is the changeless, and our use of it creates the change within the law. Make sense? Law is changeless, and our use of it creates the change within the law. And as we said, change is growth, it's expansion, it's evolution. It's the activity of spirit through us, evolving through us, individually and uniquely. So this month, as we're looking at gratitude and what role it plays in our life, and we're talking about being grateful and thanksgiving all month, and we looked at gratitude our first week in all things great and small. And we had our pets here that day, and it was a fun Sunday. And we said the Spirit recognizes form but not size, the mountain and the molehill comparison. And then we talked last week about the timelessness of being aware in the present moment. The timelessness of being aware in the present moment. We had some exercises for that. And then we've talked about how gratitude is a trigger for joy. Gratitude is the bridge or the trigger for joy to bubble up within us, and joy being one of those God qualities that we experience. So when we're grateful for something, some event, some experience, some material item, that's a perfect opportunity in our life to see that God is all there is, and that we are grateful about, which we are grateful about is simply the ever-changing form of God. It's the ever-changing form of God. And using our water example, can we be grateful for ice? Water changing to ice? Absolutely. It keeps our drinks cool. It keeps our cooler that we take our picnics out on, keeps our food fresh and cool. It's good for icing a toe, right? It's medicinal in nature. Ice is a good thing. And steam. Can we be grateful for steam? Oh my goodness, yes. Gets the wrinkles out of our clothes in a handy-dandy way. Cooks our vegetables before dinner, doesn't it? Also, the steam engine. Powerful steam engines. And it heats our homes. And those from the east may know about steam heat. We don't do that much out here, but back east, steam heat was really big. So we can be grateful for that one substance of water that nourishes us and keeps us alive. It also brings us all these other benefits in the ice and in the steam. It's an amazing substance when we begin to think about its versatility and the way that it can be transformed. So water, again, is this great example of the relationship between substance, form, and change. We can change the form of the substance, but not change the substance itself. Water, ice, steam. We said that water was in the ice, water was in the steam. What about our example of seed, soil, plant that we use for our creative process demonstration? The plant is in the seed is in the plant, right? So we're not changing the substance, we're changing the form. And then spiritually, spirit, soul, and body. One substance. Spirit, soul, and body, different forms of the same substance. So water in its many forms is a great example of God in form and its changeless nature. Now, many of us are saying, yeah, but still change means different. Change means different. Isn't that contradictory? Well, it can be in our logical mind if we're focused on the details of the everyday. I have lived my life, for those of you who have known me for a while, in the very detailed manner. I'm a detail girl, right? All about the details. I've managed details. I've micromanaged details. My spiritual journey has taught me that a joy-filled life is more about that bigger view, that broader perspective. Think about a mountain. You're at the base of a mountain. Imagine that in your mind. You're at the base of a mountain. It's a very big mountain, like a Colorado mountain, very tall. And you don't see a lot but what's right in front of you, right? Now imagine you're up on top of that mountain. Change your perspective. You're up on top of that very high mountain and you're looking out. And your perspective is much broader, isn't it? You see more. It's more expansive. You have a broader view of life. Ernest Holmes tells us that the biggest life is the one that includes the most. The biggest life is the one that includes the most. And I didn't understand that as I first got into this teaching. But again, as I've gone through my spiritual journey and continued my practices, I'm seeing how that idea of the things that include the most, it's the most inclusive of people, places, things, events, situations, ideas, opinions, opportunities, is when we can be open to all of it and experience all of it, that we have those broader perspectives of God is all there is. We can begin to see that when we can back away, step back from the details. Step back from the details and focus on that bigger picture. That's when I first began to realize that God really is about win-win. God really is about win-win. There is no favoritism. There is no favoritism. It's kind of like us if we said, well, I favor my heart and not my liver. So I'm going to ignore my liver and not take care of it. I'm just going to favor my heart. Are we going to last very long? No, right? And it's the same way with spirit. Spirit does not play favorites in its body, which is us, either. So it's that broader win-win perspective of life. We can start to let go of the resistance and the fighting and the arguing and all that stuff that really doesn't serve us. And start to live that life that is fuller. The biggest life is the one that includes the most. It is the most inclusive. So the Changeless is this broad and big view, the highest vision to touch, see, and recognize God as all that there is. Holmes tells us that forms come and go, but the power back of them is changeless. It's kind of like the energy behind everything is changeless, even though all the stuff out in front of it changes. Form is temporary, but mind is eternal. So how are you applying this idea in your life? What form are you changing in that changeless nature of God? Well, last week I asked you for some manifested prayers, which I got a few. And I'm going to share some of those. And nobody said don't share my name, so you may hear your name today. You may not, but you may. And these are all examples of changing our thoughts into new thoughts, our forms into new forms. So these are all great examples. New cars. I know of two. Reverend Glenn and Annie. Congratulations. No longer smoking. John shared up here one Sunday his success in our Treat and Move Your Feet group of finally letting go of his habit of smoking. Congratulations. More organized living through clutter busting. Lynn also shared his powerful breakthrough with us. Clutter busting and living in an organized way in his home. We've got many that have created better health habits in their body, manifested health, healed illnesses. Congratulations to all of you. Sale of property. Sold my house pretty quick. And for all of you in the real estate business, I know many of you are having multiple transactions this year and having very successful businesses. Congratulations. Start of new relationships. I know of a couple of new relationships that have started in our community. Congratulations there also. Healing of familial relationships. Suzanne shared with us that over many years she's had struggles with her family, and she has healed those relationships this year. Relocating to connect with family and friends. Our beautiful Frankie, board secretary, left 2 weeks ago, I guess, and had moved back to Michigan to be with her family. And that was a manifestation of her prayer. And then, of course, last month, our Money Finders program, all of us, I think, experienced greater financial prosperity by participating in that Money Finders program. So we have lots of opportunity to share that manifested prayer. We see it in our community. I am blessed by hearing your stories all year long, not just at Thanksgiving. And I do appreciate sharing that journey with you. So congratulations to anyone and everyone that's had a manifested prayer this year. Yeah. So changing form but never changing the substance, just like water into ice or into steam. That's all we're doing. Changing our thoughts into new thoughts that serve us. Changing existing forms into new forms that serve us. Creating the life of our dreams. So the most empowering and grounded place that we can live from is knowing that we can always count on the changeless love and law of God. And within that love and law, we are ever creating. We are ever sourced, safe, and secure. Law is the changeless, and our use of it creates change within it. So let's take a look at how we can begin to use some of these principles in our life this week as we move into our practicing the principles and being grateful for the change in the changeless. Number 1, trade expectation for anticipation. Now, I know many of us have a negative connotation around the word expectation. There's some judgment in there and that sort of thing. But really in the creative process, expectation is a key ingredient because we have to accept that the good is coming to us. Otherwise, we've got a blockage on that. So instead of having expectation, if that's a word that doesn't resonate with you, try anticipation. And I don't know about you, but I remember as a child thinking about Christmas morning with great anticipation. I couldn't wait to run down the hall and see what Santa had brought. So anticipation is that idea of expectation, but with such a high level of knowingness that it's going to be good. So switch that expectation to anticipation. Try that word on. See if that one works for us. This goes along with our make up a better story routine, doesn't it? So if I can make up a better story for myself and include anticipation of its arrival, it's even more powerful. Number 2, look for and notice change. Look for and notice change. Wow. We know that what we focus on expands, so we're actively looking at change in our life. That could be scary, couldn't it? But if we begin to use our new mantra around that says, change is God in action in my life, that shifts that a little bit, doesn't it? It's not quite so scary because we recognize that this is just another opportunity for Spirit to show me change. Remember we talked last week about the journey and that we were here really to enjoy every moment of our journey on this planet? It's not about point A to point B. It's really about everything that's in between that. And that's what this is. Change is the stuff in between. So how can we learn to step into that and be joyful in it as well? Change is God in action in my life. And then number 3, our spiritual practice this week is completing your gratitude journals. Congratulations for those of you that are experiencing the 40 days. That's up on Thursday. We have some more if you want to start another 40 days, or if you weren't able to start with us before, any 40 days will work. So any 40 days will work. Or if you want to just start the process on your own with just a notebook or your computer, whatever, it's a great process. And then using your new mantra, of course, all change is God in action in my life. So I want to close this out with a quote today, another one from the Jain Faith, and one of the facet number 1 of their 12-facet path to freedom. And it says, change is for growth, and growth is for change. Change is for growth, and growth is for change. Both are for helping us become aware of our inner divinity and for inspiring us to move to the higher life, the higher vision. So I invite you to join me now in a prayer of thanksgiving as we go within, anchoring this talk and our service here today and all of the gratitude that has been expressed. As we just recognize that there is only one power, one presence, one life, one mind. And that is the one life of God, Spirit Source, the divine. It is the allness that is all, in all, as all, and through all. And all of it's here now in this room. For there's no place that this infinite presence is not. No place. No person that does not express it. No event, no situation that is not it. God is everywhere. And so I speak my word this day for and about each one of us here, accepting, knowing, claiming the many things to be grateful for in our life. As we take that higher vision, that mountaintop view, shifting our perspective to see the broader view of God is all that there is. To see that life is full and vibrant around us. And to be that place of gratitude, that bridge and avenue for joy to be made manifest in our life. And we know that as it is done in our life, then we impact those around us through our joy and through our gratitude. And we shine our light brightly in the world. Shine our light brightly. And I know for anyone who has anything on their heart today that they seek prayer around, that is lifted up into this higher view. And that whatever that prayer is, I know that it is made manifest in their life as they believe. For that's how the law works. So it is with great gratitude, it is with great thanksgiving, a joy-filled heart that I accept the manifestation of this prayer. The blessings upon each one of us and our families as we move into this holiday season of Thanksgiving. of coming together with family and friends and sharing in the meals and the conversation, sharing in the love. I bless each of us on that day as well. So I release this into the action of law, knowing that it is done, it is so, and we anchor it and affirm it together by saying, and so it is.